almost said what I intended to finish the show with yesterday, or Friday. I almost did. You were there, right? You saw me. I was going to tell you about how Raphael Cruz is a Dominionist, and then I failed to deliver. I didn't realize it until after I turned the microphone off. I said, oops, I forgot something. So I'm going to pick up there today. And then, folks, I have some thoughts about Antichrist, about how Antichrist will come. Can't wait to tell you about that. In fact, I probably won't be able to help introducing it today, because who wants to talk about Raphael Cruz? Hello, everyone. Martin Zender here. Another week of fun and enjoyment on the Revelation series. And we're back on Revelation, just sort of, kind of, maybe. We're going to get back to it verse by verse, of course. Now, I see similarities, and this is going to shock you when I say this, maybe. Some of you know. Between Christ and Antichrist. After all, do they not possess the same root word, namely Christ? Yes, they do. And I think I'm the only one saying this, but that's fine. I'm willing to, the cheese stands alone. I got it. That's no problem. But because I see similarities here between how Christ is delivered and to the world and how Antichrist is delivered to the world, I believe that I do have some insight into what to look for in the Antichrist, and more importantly, what not to look for. Not bad, huh? Okay, I'm going to hold you right there, because you're going to get something on this show you're not going to get anywhere else. And then for now, I'm going to deliver on my promise to tell you about Raphael Cruz and the Dominion theology. Now, you know that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, or the pecan. The pecans grow on trees, or the banana. None of these things fall far from the tree. And Ted Cruz has not fallen far from his father's tree. In fact, he calls his father, in one video I saw, his hero. And that's nice. It should be that way. But there are a few things you need to know about Senor, or Raphael Cruz. And I am quoting from Wikipedia. Now, Cruz works from his home in Carrollton, Texas, a suburb of Dallas, as a traveling preacher and public speaker, campaigning as a surrogate for his son during the 2016 presidential campaign season. In a 2014 Associated Press story, Cruz was quoted as saying, quote, "I have a burden for this country." This is Raphael. "And I feel that we cannot sit silent," end quote. Oh no, because if we sat silent, then that would make us a bunch of Marys sitting at Jesus' feet. That's right, the famous, and worthily so, sister of Lazarus, whose other sibling, Martha, was busying about the kitchen. And what Raphael Cruz is doing here, and Ted also, and anyone who's campaigning, is they want you to be like them, because I think misery loves a company. We cannot sit silent, says Raphael Cruz. And yet, that's where the great teaching takes place, when we are sitting silent. Isn't there a verse, God works for those who wait? Right? Well, how about this one? I got a new take on it. God waits for those who work. Yeah, because they're working and they're so busy, they can't hear or see what he's doing. He went on to say that he feels, quote, "It's time we stop being politically correct and start being biblically correct." Why do I not like the ring of that? Although some sources state that Cruz is a pastor of a church in Dallas, other sources say that he is not the pastor of any church. Intrigue. Because this man is aligning himself with a larger cause, and he doesn't want to be restricted to a church. This is bigger in these people's minds. It's bigger than a local church. This is, in Raphael's mind, a prophetically prophesied prophecy, how's that? That his son has been destined to take the presidency of the United States. And that may very well be true, my friends. Now I'm starting to sound like a politician. My friends. However, how Raphael Cruz may picture his son coming to greater national prominence, i.e. the presidency, the not the mechanics, but the purpose behind it, may be something that in his wildest dreams could not and would not ever happen. More on this tomorrow. I'm going to lay something out to you tomorrow that I think will change what you're looking for in this world and change what you think you want to see in order to, we all want to hurry along, were it possible, the coming of Christ. Of course, nothing literally can hurry something past its pre-designated appointed time. We know that. But speaking as a human being, you and I both want these events to crescendo into the formation of the one world government and the wild beast, which will have a Christianized face on it. We know that from the prophecies of Daniel, that the four beasts that come out of the sea are religious powers. All right, more on Raphael Cruz. About his political involvements in the 1980s, Cruz reflected, quote, "I was on the State Board of Religious Roundtable, a Christian and Jewish religious organization that worked to elect Ronald Reagan. At the time, he told his son," quote, listen to this. This is what Raphael Cruz told his son in the 1980s, around the time Cruz was helping Ronald Reagan. Quote, "God has destined you for greatness," unquote. This is why Raphael Cruz doesn't like to affiliate himself with a particular church. He's a roving minister. He's bigger than any local assembly. The guy thinks big, and he's a bit grandiose, I say. Now, it's okay to think big as long as you have scriptural recourse for it. So this guy's thinking big, but it's the religious pomposity, that I hate. But there is actual pomposity you can have. I don't want to call it that. Let's call it confidence. We all have confidence that we are who Christ says we are. If you've watched my film Psycho Boy, I take a funny slant on that. All these things that Paul says of us, that we're designated beforehand for the place of a son, that we are coming into a place in Christ where we are called Christs. We are taking his title. We are sons of God, and we shall be used to complete the eras. That is, to complete the plan that God began at the start of the eons. We are going to complete the eons, which involves the returning of the universe to God. These are more fantastic things than having a son who is going to be president of the United States. Many of you say, Martin, how can you compare the two? Well, a lot of people would say, how can you compare the two, thinking that the president of the United States would be a more esteemed office. But don't let how things look now fool you, my friends, because what we are poised to be, may sound crazy to some, but we are waiting our hour. What did Jesus say? My hour has not yet come. In his case, he was speaking of the hour of his trial, of his arrest and his death. We are blessedly delivered from that downer. We are awaiting our manifestation in glory. And so our hour has not yet come either. The hour of Ted Cruz has come. The hour of Raphael Cruz to take pride in his son. Every father, I don't begrudge him that. Every father takes pride in the accomplishments of his son. And it's no mean thing to become president of the United States. And I tell you that one can believe one thing, but have that thing turn into completely something different. And this is what scares some of you as you talk to me about our calling. You think, is this too crazy to be true? Is the highness, the loftiness of this call, is it too good to be true? Are we all a bunch of crazy dreamers? Answer's no. That's your short answer. No. But if you are tied into the world, and if you are gauging your destiny by your earthly posturing, by the way people accept you in this life, and if perchance people accept you gloriously in this life, and people roll out a red carpet for you in this life, then you could get the impression, again, that God is also on your side, and you may miss precisely what is actually happening. This is what's happening with Raphael, Cruz, and I'll get into more detail with that tomorrow. But the Pharisees are the perfect example of that. They gauged their self-worth upon the reception of praise from the people. They didn't gauge it from the scriptures. They gauged it from the people, from their traditions, rather than the word of God. Because those people got accepted for high office, true high office, were again the lowlifes, the people that the Pharisees looked down upon. Now we're considering a man and his father, or a man in Raphael Cruz and his son, who are vying, I think, together for the presidency of the United States. But we have seen how much obscene amounts of money it costs to become president of the United States. And we have heard about the polls. Everybody's talking about the polls. What are polls? Polls are when some organization goes out, calls a random group of people, well, maybe not so random, they have a profile of the kinds of people they want to ask questions of, and those people either give a favorable or an unfavorable opinion. And based on that, we can gauge the success or the failure of a certain person. But that opinion is based on humans, on other human beings who don't gauge things correctly. They gauge things by their sentiment, by how they feel that day, by the things that human beings, soulless human beings, that have very little amount of spirit, gauge things. And how do those kinds of people gauge things? By the soul. They look to see if someone's acceptable, if someone has a lot of money, if someone has a beautiful family, if someone has run a business, it's like Donald Trump. And so that is the gauge of success. And tell me, you don't agree with me that that is a poor, dubious, undependable gauge of success. This will actually nicely segue me to my talk tomorrow, but more, I'm just going to finish up. I'm just reading one section of Wikipedia on Raphael Cruz. At the new listen to this. Is this the part I want? Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I'm just going to read this, and then I'll start tomorrow commenting on it, and then I will give you tomorrow my insight into Antichrist. Listen to this. I'm just going to read it. I'll save my comments if I can for tomorrow. At the New Beginnings Church in Irving, Texas in August 2012, and I saw this video, Cruz delivered a sermon where he described his son's senatorial campaign as taking place within a context where Christian kings were anointed to preside over a, quote, end-time transfer of wealth, unquote, from wicked people to the righteous. Cruz urged the congregation to, quote, tithe mightily to achieve that result. During an interview conducted by the Christian Post in 2014, Cruz stated, quote, I think we cannot separate politics and religion. They are interrelated. They've always been interrelated, unquote. Ooh, if that isn't food for thought, even diabolical thought, then I don't know what is. And tomorrow, we are going to think these daring thoughts, and we are going to go into places where maybe we ourselves have never gone before. I relish the opportunity to do that together with you.